Hello and welcome back to the Movie Memo Recaps. Today we are going to recap a 2024 movie titled The Killer. Please be advised that there will be spoilers ahead. The movie commences in France, with a professional assassin named Z sitting in an abandoned chapel. At that point, her boss, Finn, comes and assigns her a new task. He underlines that the job must be completed that night and orders her to kill everyone at the site she is headed to. Elsewhere, a cop named Say is in the car with his colleague Jax, and they appear to be watching a smuggler named Coco. When Coco emerges in front of them, they act immediately to arrest him. They question Coco about the whereabouts of the contraband, but he denies knowing anything about it. Coco moves fast and hits Say, grabbing a gun from his car and shooting Jax in the leg before jumping into his car and fleeing, but Say pursues him, firing shots that force Coco to lose control of the vehicle and come to a stop. Say pursues Coco, only to discover that he has already escaped. Determined, Say continues his search until he locates Coco, at which point a chase ensues. During this confrontation, Coco takes a young child hostage and threatens his life. Say implores Coco to release the child and surrender, but Coco remains unyielding, prompting Say to take the drastic measure of shooting him in the neck, resulting in Coco's death. Z visits her friend Tissier, a tailor, and helps him eat the chocolate he left behind due to his broken fingers. Tess reveals that a customer assaulted him after he refused to do business with him, resulting in 2 fractured fingers. Z reassures him that the customer won't return, explaining she spoke to him and advised him to stay away. Tess is surprised by how she managed this, especially since the customer seemed dangerous. Z reveals she knows how to communicate assertively and recalls how she attacked the man, breaking his hands and threatening him if he approached Tess again. Tess then shows Z the garments she ordered, confirming he has completed all the requested alterations. At night, Z visits a nightclub run by Lily. She enters a secret room belonging to a gang leader named Serge, who appears and asks whether she is there discussing the agreement and informs her that he will not return the item he took from her boss unless he is paid for it. Z says she won't discuss it till the area is empty. Serge instructs his soldiers to empty the area, leaving only his men and the singer. Jen takes her phone and sends a message to Coco, notifying him of the situation. We discover that Jen is Coco's girlfriend, and she keeps him up to date on everything that happens in the club. Jen gets a message alerting her that Coco has died. Serge and Z are dancing at this point when Z pulls out a knife she had hidden in her garments and murders him. She then gets into a nasty struggle with Serge's soldiers. During the battle, Jen falls to the ground, hits her head, and loses vision. After killing Serge's men, Z approaches Jen to murder her but is astonished to find her traumatized by the shock of losing her sight. Z feels pity for her and refuses to kill her, abandoning her and exiting the scene. The next day, Z and Finn meet at the chapel. Finn is enraged that Z did not murder Jen, and she reveals to him what happened to her, including how she was moved by her state and could not bring herself to kill her. She informs him that Jen has nothing to do with Serge's group, but Finn believes that Jen deserves to die and instructs her to finish the task by killing her. In the same moment, Say is in the police station with 2 of his colleagues, where he discovers the message Jen delivered to Coco. He also discovers that Jen is a performer at the same nightclub where Serge's group was murdered. Say is astonished to find that only one individual was responsible for their deaths. Back to Z, who disguises herself as an American embassy representative. She visits the hospital and appears to be there to check on Jen, since she is an American citizen. The officer lets her into Jen's room. Jen detects Z's presence as soon as she enters the room. Z informs her that she is a representative from the embassy. Z starts talking to Jen and asks about her injuries. Jen explains that she fell on her head and lost sight as a result of the trauma. She also notes that the doctors are unclear if she will regain her vision or not. Jen begs Z for a favor before she goes. She begs her to phone her mother and tell her what occurred. Jen sobs, saying that her mother has no one else, that she has been ignoring her mother, and that she hasn't checked on her in a while. She promises that if she gets a second chance, she will grow closer to her mother and never abandon her again. Z takes a step back and turns off the 4th tube, suggesting that she has decided not to murder Jen after hearing her narrative from her mother. Suddenly, Say walks into the room and introduces himself. Z identifies herself as an embassy official, and Say then asks Jen to describe who killed Serge's guys. Z feels frightened and lunges for her gun, but is astonished when Jen informs Say that she couldn't see the killer's face because she fell to the ground amid the turmoil and lost her sight. Z relaxes and places her gun back in her bag. Say then questions Jen about her relationship with Coco the smuggler, to which Jen responds that he was only a client that came to the nightclub. While they are conversing, a nurse comes, reopens the tube, and exits. Z sees the poison is about to run into Jen's veins and kill her, and she immediately uses her wits to knock over the stand, forcing the bag to fall to the ground, and then lies to say that she lost her footing. After leaving the hospital, Say informs Z that Jen is lying about all she stated. Z grins and asks how he found it out. He responds that he guessed it from his experience. Z is glad that Say has no proof against Jen. She excuses herself and departs. At this point, Say receives a call from a buddy who works at the US Embassy. Say notes that he was just with his embassy colleague but is surprised to discover that the embassy did not send anyone. Say rushes after Z, only to discover that she has vanished. It appears that Say is amazed by the trick. Finn meets with the criminal leader he works for, Joubert. Gobert is unhappy because he is going to lose $75 million in a large contraband operation. Gobert inquires about the Arab prince Majeb, to which Finn responds that Majeb is being held in a hotel for questioning by the police. Gobert becomes even more irritated when he discovers that Say is the one investigating the case, as Say is the only officer at the police station who Gobert has not been able to hire. Say arrives at the hotel to meet Majeb, who immediately inquires about the departure of his private plane. Say promises it will be soon but wants to hear what happened at the airport. Flashback: Majeb's jet is parked on the runway when Serge and his crew, disguised as police officers, attack the plane and seize the contraband. Back in the present, Majeb recounts the event to Say but omits any mention of the contraband. Say shows him a photo of Serge and asks if he recognizes them, but Majeb feigns ignorance. Say then presents a photo of Gobert, head of Paris' largest crime organization, and asks if Majeb knows him. After a pause, Majeb denies any connection. He then claims to be busy with a meeting and deflects questions about the stolen item, stating that as a guest in France, he will report the incident to the embassy unless his jet is released. The focus shifts to Z, who meets with Finn and conveys that she was unable to execute the assassination of Jen by falsely claiming that the police had surrounded the hospital. Finn seems skeptical of her explanation, given her reputation as a highly skilled assassin capable of completing any assignment. Undeterred by the challenges, Finn resolves to dispatch 2 of his men to the hospital to eliminate Jen. Recognizing the imminent threat, Z grabs a motorcycle from a stranger and pursues Finn's operatives, ultimately neutralizing them. Meanwhile, Say visits his colleague Jax in the hospital and reveals that Majeb lied to him. At the same time, Z stealthily enters Jen's room, abducts her, and attempts to escape before Finn's men arrive. Just as Z starts a fire, Say hears gunfire and rushes out, horrified to see Finn's men attacking Z. He engages in a shootout with them while Z returns fire and heads to the lab for a weapon. Unexpectedly, Say confronts her with his pistol, and Z explains she's trying to save Jen. Confused, Say is interrupted as Finn's men return. Together, Z and Say fight off the attackers, and finally, after defeating them, Z ultimately knocks Say unconscious with a powerful blow and rushes away with Jen. Z then takes Jen to her residence. The following day, Gobert meets with Majeb to inquire about his conversation with Say. Majeb recounts the events, confirming that he denied all allegations and that Say informed him that Gobert's men were responsible for the murder of Serge's group. Gobert refutes this claim, asserting that he had no involvement. However, Majeb remains skeptical, suspecting Gobert of dishonesty, particularly given the ongoing search for the stolen cargo. Frustrated, Gobert confronts Majeb and begins to strike his bodyguard, convinced that Majeb is withholding information regarding the contraband and attempting to mislead him. In response, Finn intervenes swiftly to separate Gobert and prevent the situation from escalating into violence. However, Finn is surprised when Gobert addresses him in a harsh manner, striking him on the shoulder and urging him to resolve the situation promptly. Finn appears displeased with Gobert's approach toward him. During their conversation, Z is shocked to learn that Jen knows about her role in the deaths of Serge's men. Z apologizes for Jen's injuries, but Jen doesn't blame her, acknowledging her own naivety and trusting Coco. Jen explains that Coco was part of a contraband operation and tricked Serge by stealing the seized goods. She helped him, believing he would support her dream of becoming a singer. That night, Coco contacted someone to get the address of a garage in a working-class area of France, where he abandoned the vehicle with the contraband. Z, feeling angered by Jen's involvement, asks for the garage's address, but Jen refuses, claiming she doesn't know the streets. Z is surprised and questions why Jen didn't report this to the police. Jen simply states she wanted to avoid getting involved. Z determines that Jen has to pay the price. She then takes Jen to the abandoned chapel, where Z lifts her gun and prepares to shoot her. At that point, Z recalls something being impacted, which causes her to reconsider and not murder Jen. Finn arrives shortly thereafter and inquires about Z's activities in the hospital. Z expresses her discontent with others interfering in her work, emphasizing the importance of completing the task she initiated herself. She confides in him that she has killed Jen and disposed of her body. Once Finn departs, Z proceeds to a chamber in the chapel where Jen is concealed. At that moment, Jen questions Z about why she did not kill her, to which Z replies that Jen reminds her of her younger sister. Z shares the story of her mother and sister, whom she lost due to her involvement in gang activities, and reassures Jen that she still has an opportunity to transform her life for the better. Meanwhile, Finn visits Gobert for a discussion. During their conversation, a waitress named Chi Mai enters and serves Gobert a drink. Unexpectedly, she produces a silenced firearm and shoots Gobert before discreetly exiting the premises. As Gobert lies gravely injured, Finn approaches him and informs him that he has taken the contraband from him, delivering a blow to his shoulder reminiscent of the one Gobert had previously inflicted. Finn expresses his belief that Gobert is both ignorant and arrogant, asserting that he does not merit his position. Z returns to her apartment and reviews the security footage to understand the events that occurred. Simultaneously, she receives a message from Finn inviting her to meet. However, before heading to the meeting, she visits her friend Tess, who informs her that a police investigator has arrived seeking information about her. Tess provides Z with the investigator's phone number and the passcode required for identification when she calls. Afterward, Z proceeds to meet Finn, who reveals that he was aware of her deception regarding Jen's death and assures her that he did not kill her. He also discloses that he has killed Gobert and is in possession of the contraband. Finn proposes that Z carry out the assassination of Say in exchange for Jen's release. In response, Z asks Finn to first confirm Jen's safety. Finn then takes out his phone and initiates a video call, allowing Z to communicate with Jen. However, he soon disconnects the call. Finn subsequently informs Z that Say will be at the market in 1 hour and requests that the operation be executed discreetly and without drawing attention. An hour later, Zay is in the market, where he looks to be waiting for someone. At the same moment, Z is in the building opposite the market, holding a sniper rifle at Say. Meanwhile, Chi Mai is in another building, armed with a sniper rifle, preparing to assassinate Z if she fails to execute the job. At the same moment, Jax comes and meets Say, who discovers that Jax works for Finn and was the one who approached Tess to inquire about her. Z contacts Jax and provides him with the passcode, at which point he realizes that she has uncovered his plan. She demands that he hand the phone over to Say, threatening to kill him if he does not comply. Jax, feeling apprehensive, reluctantly delivers the phone to Say. Subsequently, Z shoots Jax in the stomach. Chi Mai attempts to assassinate Z by firing at her, however, Z successfully evades the bullet by utilizing a decoy. Subsequently, Z locates Chi Mai and shoots her, resulting in an immediate fatality. Z then contacts Say to inform him of Jax's betrayal and his collaboration with Finn. Following this, Z takes Jax to the car, where he is in pain and pleads for transportation to the hospital. They insist that he first disclose the whereabouts of Jen and the contraband. Jax complies and provides the location of the contraband, although he is unable to provide information on Jen's whereabouts. They ultimately abandon him in front of the hospital before proceeding to the contraband site. When they arrive, they fight and kill Finn's men. Z then phones Finn to inform him that she has the contraband and asks that he release Jen in return for it. Finn soon arrives at the abandoned chapel and begins his hunt for Z. Suddenly, Z approaches from behind and points her weapon at him. Finn reacts by bringing out his phone and showing her Jen, indicating that one of Finn's guys is pointing a firearm at her and demanding that Z turn up the contraband or Jen will be murdered. Z informs Finn that the contraband is located nearby. At this moment, Say arrives and begins firing at Finn's gunmen before engaging in combat with Z and Finn's associates. In a sudden turn of events, Finn strikes Z with the intent to kill her, but she retaliates and brings him to the ground. Z quickly escapes the church to rescue Jen, only to encounter Juliet, a member of Finn's gang, who opens fire on her. During this exchange of gunfire, Jen is struck in the abdomen. Just then, a large contingent of Finn's men arrives and begins shooting at Z. However, Say comes to her aid and joins the fray. Finn exits the church and heads toward the contraband truck, but Say seizes the opportunity to detonate the vehicle, causing Finn and his men to fall to the ground. Say and Z take advantage of this moment to bring Jen back into the church, where they engage in a shootout with the remaining members of Finn's gang, ultimately eliminating them all. Juliet is the only survivor, and Z confronts her, delivering a brutal beating that results in her death. Finn manages to overpower Say and shoots him in the stomach before turning his weapon on Z. In a bid to buy time, Z engages Finn in conversation until Say discreetly passes her a gun, allowing her to deliver a fatal headshot. They return to Jen and find that she has recovered and regained her sight. Days later, Z stands on a high vantage point, witnessing Jen joyfully reuniting with her mother. Sei is subsequently promoted for his effective handling of the situation. Z then calls Sei to express her gratitude for his assistance, marking the conclusion of the film. Thank you for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.